She looked up when the wind changed. It wasn't the sound of hooves that made Amy freeze. It was something deeper, a feeling in her chest, something she hadn't felt in years. Her heart raced. At first, she thought her eyes were playing tricks on her, but as the rider came closer, she stopped breathing. That face, that posture. No, it couldn't be. It was impossible. Ty Borden was dead. She buried him. She cried for him. She healed for him. But now, he was back, and everything Amy knew was about to shatter. The morning began like any other at Heartland. Amy was brushing Spartan, gently talking to him the way she always did. Lindy played near the haystack, laughing as she tried to balance a tiny saddle on a wooden fence. The sky was clear, the sun warm, and the smell of fresh hay filled the air. Jack and Lisa were inside the house preparing breakfast, and Georgie was already tacking up a horse for a ride through the trails. Everything was calm. Too calm. That's when it happened. Lindy looked up first. She pointed toward the field where the gravel path led into the ranch. "Mama, someone's coming," she said with curiosity in her voice. Amy didn't pay attention at first. Visitors were nothing new. But then Lindy added something that made Amy turn. "He rides like Daddy." Amy's heart skipped. She slowly turned her head and saw a distant figure on horseback, moving toward the ranch with steady, familiar movements. Her hands froze on Spartan's reins. Something about the rider felt known. Georgie had stopped too. She stood near the fence, eyes locked on the figure, shoulders tense. Jack came out of the house with a cup of coffee in hand, but when he looked up, the cup slipped slightly in his grasp. No one spoke. They just stared. The rider wore a brown jacket. His hat was low, shadowing his face. His back was straight, posture calm and proud. With every step closer, something inside Amy twisted. She didn't want to believe what her eyes were seeing. Her mind screamed it was a mistake, someone who just looked like him, but her heart wasn't so sure. The horse finally slowed as it reached the gate. The rider pulled the reins and stopped. Dust lifted into the air. Slowly, he removed his hat. His face was now visible, weathered, older, a scar across his jaw. But those eyes, they were the same. Amy stumbled backward, bumping into Spartan. Jack whispered a curse under his breath. Lisa gasped and grabbed his arm. Georgie looked like she'd seen a ghost. "No," Amy said. Her voice cracked, barely a whisper. "No. No, no." The man dismounted, quietly, slowly. His boots touched the earth like he had never left it. Amy couldn't move. She didn't even notice her tears. Her vision blurred, but she kept staring. Her knees weakened. The rider stepped forward, 3 steps. Then he stopped. "Amy," he said, his voice soft, familiar, raw. Amy shook her head. "You died. You died in my arms." He took one more step forward. "I know, but I didn't." Georgie covered her mouth. Lisa cried openly. Jack just stared in shock, and Lindy clutched Amy's hand, not understanding why everyone looked so scared and amazed. Amy stepped forward slowly, like walking through a dream. Her hands trembled. She raised them and touched his face. It was warm, real, solid. "You're not a ghost," she whispered. "No," Ty said. "I'm here." Then Amy did the only thing she could. She broke down into sobs, falling into his arms. The world had changed again. Amy stood still, one hand on Ty's cheek, the other clenched at her side. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear anything else. His face was real, warm, not a dream, not a ghost. The skin beneath her fingers wasn't cold or lifeless. It was alive, and that truth hit her like a storm. Then the storm inside her broke free. She collapsed into Ty's chest with a gasp, the first sob tearing through her throat before she could stop it. Her knees gave out, and Ty caught her without hesitation. He held her close, tightly, just like he used to, his arms wrapping around her like a shield, like she belonged there. Everyone watched in silence. Lisa turned away, her hands shaking as she tried to wipe her tears. Georgie couldn't move. She stood frozen, eyes wide, as if even blinking would break the moment. Jack stared hard, his face unreadable, but the way his jaw tightened showed the pain boiling inside him. Amy cried into Ty's shirt, her hands clutching his back like she was afraid he'd vanish again. Her voice broke as she spoke into his chest. Why? Why would you do this to me? Why didn't you come back? Why let me believe you were dead? Ty didn't speak right away. He just held her. He stroked her hair gently, just like he used to when the nights were long and cold, back when life still made sense. Then, softly, he said, "Because I had no choice, Amy." Amy pulled away, her face soaked in tears, her eyes sharp and full of pain. No choice? You think that makes it better? You let me grieve you, Ty. You let me raise our daughter alone. You watched me suffer. I did, he said, his voice hoarse, and it killed me every single day. Amy stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself. Her entire body shook. You died in my arms, Ty. I felt your last breath. I broke that day. Ty lowered his eyes. I know. I was there. I remember everything. The silence stretched between them like a wound that refused to close. Then, Georgie took a hesitant step forward. Ty, how are you alive? Ty looked at her, older now, stronger, but still the girl who once rode beside him through wild country. It's a long story, he said, one I never wanted to tell. But I owe it to you, all of you. Jack's voice cut through the air like a knife. Then start talking, boy. Ty nodded slowly. After Mongolia, something happened. Something big. The people I was helping. The project I got caught up in. It went wrong. Badly. And the government stepped in. They said I was a target. That anyone close to me would be in danger. They made the call. They faked my death. I begged to say, "Goodbye." They said no. Lisa gasped. Georgie looked sick. Jack clenched his fists. Amy just stared. I tried to fight it, Ty continued. I tried to come back, but every time I got close, they stopped me. They said it wasn't safe. For you, for Lindy. I wrote letters, but they never got sent. I saw pictures, birthdays I missed. I watched from afar. I knew how wrong it was, but I thought it was the only way to protect you. Amy's voice was cold. So you let me bury you. You let me scream at the sky for answers. You let your daughter grow up thinking her father was gone. Ty's shoulders dropped. I thought I was doing the right thing. No, Amy whispered. You didn't think about us at all. Her words were sharp, but the hurt behind them ran even deeper. Lindy tugged on Amy's sleeve. Mama, who is he? She asked quietly. Amy looked down, her heart breaking all over again. He's your daddy. The little girl looked up at Ty, her eyes wide. But you were in the stars. Ty knelt, tears in his eyes. I never left your heart, baby. Lindy stepped back, confused and quiet. She didn't run into his arms. She didn't smile. The man in front of her was a stranger. Amy turned away, wiping her tears. I can't do this. I need air. She walked off into the field, shoulders heavy. Ty stood alone now, his heart laid bare. The reunion had happened, but healing had not begun yet. Amy didn't go far, just past the fence, to the place where the grass grew tall and the wind whispered through the trees. Her boots crushed the dirt path she had walked every day for years. But today each step felt foreign, like she didn't belong in her own life anymore. Her world had changed in seconds, and now she didn't know which way was forward. Behind her, Ty stood frozen in the yard. He could feel her pain like a weight on his chest. He wanted to run to her to explain everything, to hold her again, but he didn't, because he saw it. Amy didn't just need answers, she needed to breathe. Jack watched it all quietly from the porch. His face was hard, his arms crossed tight, but inside, memories swirled like a storm. Memories of that boy who once stood on this land, unsure of himself, asking to prove he was worthy. The boy Jack had come to call a son, and now that son stood there, alive after all, but not the same. None of them were. Georgie sat on the edge of the fence, her knees pulled close. "I thought I saw a ghost," she said under her breath. Lisa placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We all did, sweetheart." Inside the house, Lindy clutched her stuffed horse tightly. She sat near the window, watching the man outside, the one they said was her father. But he didn't feel like a father. He felt like a story that had come to life. One she didn't understand yet. Ty finally turned to Jack. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he said. "I just want to make things right." Jack's eyes were sharp. "You don't get to want anything right now. You broke her. You broke all of us. Coming back from the dead doesn't undo what being gone did." Ty nodded slowly. "I know." Jack stepped closer. "You may have had your reasons. Maybe even good ones. But you robbed her of years. You robbed your daughter of a father. That kind of damage doesn't just disappear, Ty." "I'll stay out of the way," Ty said. "If that's what Amy wants. I didn't come back to force anything. I needed to see her, and I needed her to know the truth." Georgie walked up beside them. "You should have come sooner, even if it was dangerous. Amy would have taken that risk, for you." Ty looked down. "I was a coward. I thought I was protecting them. But I think I just didn't want to face the pain I left behind." At the edge of the field, Amy stood with her arms wrapped around herself. She remembered every moment of the night Ty died, his labored breaths, the way his hand slipped from hers, the coldness that took over her soul after. She had survived that loss. Somehow, she had kept going, for Lindy, for herself. But now it was all tangled. The love she thought she buried still burned. But so did the anger. She heard footsteps behind her and didn't need to turn to know it was him. "I won't come closer," Ty said gently. "Just let me talk." "Please." Amy closed her eyes. The wind caught her hair. She said nothing, but she didn't walk away. Ty took a breath. "I thought I could live without you. That watching from a distance was enough. I told myself I was strong, that the pain would fade, but every day without you was like dying all over again." Amy's voice cracked. "Then why didn't you come back?" "Because I was scared," he admitted. "Not of the danger, not of the people hunting me. I was scared you'd moved on, that I'd broken us beyond repair." Amy turned slowly, her eyes tired. "You did." Those words cut deep. She looked at him, really looked. This wasn't the Ty she last saw. He was older, harder, worn by time and guilt. But somewhere behind the beard, the scars, the sorrow, was still her Ty. "I don't know what to feel," she whispered. "I loved you, then I lost you, and now you're back and I don't even know who I am anymore." Ty's eyes shimmered. "We can find out. Together." Amy shook her head. "I don't know if I want to." She walked past him slowly, heading toward the house. Ty stood alone again, heart heavy with the truth. Coming back was only the first step. The real battle, earning her trust, was still ahead. Amy stepped into the house, her body moving on instinct, her soul trailing behind. Every wall, every photo, every piece of furniture whispered memories of Ty. Memories she had buried, grieved, and accepted were gone forever. But now, with just one look, those old memories had come roaring back, mixing with confusion and rage that she wasn't ready to face. She sat on the couch and stared at the old picture on the shelf. It was the two of them, Amy and Ty, standing by the barn, arms around each other, smiles full of hope. That photo had gotten her through the worst days. Now it felt like a cruel reminder. Outside, Ty stood at the porch steps, hesitant. He could still smell the earth, the horses, the pine trees. It was all the same, yet different. Time had passed, and he hadn't been a part of it. The house looked like it remembered him, but the people inside it, Maybe they didn't. Jack stepped beside him again. She needs space. Don't force it. I'm not trying to force anything, Ty said. I came back hoping love would be enough. Jack looked at him hard. You don't get to hope. Not yet. Not after what she's been through, Ty. Nodded slowly, then sat down on the porch steps, eyes staring into the yard like it might offer forgiveness. Inside, Lindy peeked from behind the curtain. Her little hands pressed to the glass as she looked out at the stranger who wasn't a stranger. Mama, she asked, did Daddy come back from the sky? Amy crouched in front of her, brushing the girl's hair behind her ear. Sometimes, she said softly, people leave because they have to, not because they want to, and sometimes they come back when you're not ready. Lindy tilted her head. Are you mad at him? Amy paused, then gave a small, broken smile. I don't know. Maybe. Lindy looked out the window again. Can I say hi? Amy hesitated, then gave the faintest nod. Yes. But I'll come. With you. The front door opened. Ty stood the moment he saw them. Lindy walked forward slowly, holding Amy's hand tightly. Ty knelt. He didn't try to reach for her. He just looked at her with watery eyes. Hi, he said softly. I've missed so much. Lindy looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a tiny horse figurine. This is Cloudy, she said. He's brave. Ty swallowed. He looks like Spartan's little brother. Lindy gave a shy smile. Do you know Spartan? I do, Ty said gently. He's a good horse. He helped me become better. Lindy looked up at Amy. Can Daddy ride with me sometime? Amy blinked back tears. Maybe. Someday. Ty looked up at Amy, his voice low. I don't expect things to go back to how they were. I just want the chance to be in her life. Amy nodded slowly, unsure of what that meant. One step at a time. Later that evening, the family sat around the dinner table. The food was barely touched. The silence was louder than any conversation. Ty tried to speak, but each word felt like walking through fire. He apologized. To Jack, to Lisa, to Georgie. But it was Amy's silence that hurt the most. Finally, Jack stood up. Let's not pretend this can be fixed in a night. You came back from the dead, Ty. But now you've got to earn your place among the living. Amy stood up too. I'm tired, she said. I'll sleep in the barn tonight. Lisa looked alarmed. Amy, I need space. She walked out, leaving the table and the man who once held her heart. That night, Ty sat alone on the porch, wrapped in the cold, looking up at the stars. The same stars he used to stare at when he was away, dreaming of home. Now he was home. But home didn't feel like it belonged to him anymore. Inside, Amy lay on a bed of hay, watching the rafters. Her hand rested on her chest, where her heart beat wildly under confusion, grief, and something else she didn't dare name. The man she loved had returned. But could she ever love him the same way again? Morning came quietly over Heartland, but it didn't bring peace. The sky was soft and golden, yet there was a weight in the air that no sunlight could lift. Amy stepped out of the barn slowly, her clothes dusted with hay, and her eyes swollen from a night without rest. She didn't cry, not anymore. Her tears had been spent long ago, back when she believed Ty Borden had taken his last breath in her arms. Now that man stood on her porch again, breathing, alive. But with him came not just hope, but years of brokenness. She looked toward the house. Ty was already awake, sitting alone with a mug of coffee in his hands, untouched. His eyes met hers, but she didn't look away. This time she held the gaze. And in that long stare, Ty saw everything: the love, the loss, the betrayal, and the longing, all tangled up inside her like thorns around her heart. Ty stood slowly and approached her, careful not to rush. I thought maybe we could talk, he said. Amy didn't answer at first. Then she said, you were always a morning person. He smiled faintly, but it faded. Amy, if I could go back and change it all, I would. But I can't. All I can do now is tell the truth. Then tell it, she said. Every part of it. Ty took a breath. The mission in Mongolia went sideways. There was someone, an informant. We helped them escape, but in return, we were marked. I didn't even know I was in danger until I landed back in Canada. The RCMP showed up at the airport and took me straight into protective custody. I didn't even get to call you. Amy's face stayed calm, but her jaw tightened. They told me the people after me wouldn't stop, that you and Lindy would be targets. So they staged my death, with a body double, and told me it was for your protection. I thought it would be a few months, maybe a year, but months turned into years. Did you ever try to break free? To contact me? She asked. Her voice steady but cold. I tried, he said. Letters, calls, even tried to sneak out once. They caught me. Warned me if I did it again, they'd relocate me so far away I'd never see you again. Amy looked away. So you stayed hidden while we buried you, while I tried to figure out how to live again. I watched from far away, he said. Birthdays, first steps, newspaper clippings, a blog post Georgie wrote about you. I saw you rebuild your life, piece by piece, and I hated myself for not being beside you. Amy's voice broke. You gave up our life for a choice I didn't get to make. I know, he said, and I'm not asking you to forget or forgive. I just want to be part of this family again, even if it's as a stranger who has to earn every inch. Amy didn't answer. Behind them, the front door opened. Lindy stepped out, holding her little blanket and rubbing her eyes. She saw Ty and gave a small wave. Amy watched as her daughter walked over to him. Do you like pancakes? Lindy asked. Ty smiled softly. I used to, with blueberries. Lindy nodded. Mama makes the best ones. You can come eat, but you have to say sorry first. Amy blinked. Ty knelt in front of Lindy. I am sorry, sweetheart, for everything. Lindy tilted her head. Okay, then come eat. Amy watched, unsure what stunned her more, her daughter's innocence, or her own heart softening without permission. Inside, Jack and Lisa exchanged looks as the trio entered the kitchen. Georgie stood at the counter, arms crossed. Ty sat uncertain, like a guest in someone else's home. Amy stayed standing, watching him. The room was quiet, heavy, until Jack finally broke it. You know, pancakes don't fix things, Ty, but maybe they can start something. Ty nodded. That's all I hope for. As they ate, no one spoke much. But for the first time since Ty returned, they all sat at the same table. Together. And though nothing was healed yet, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like possibility. Amy glanced at Ty once. Just once. And in that glance was something new, not trust, not love, not yet. But maybe a beginning. That afternoon, the sun hung low over the ranch, casting golden light over the fields. It should have felt peaceful. Heartland always did this time of day. But inside Amy, nothing felt peaceful. Her mind was a storm. Her heart kept flashing between memories of the man she buried and the man now walking beside her daughter. From the porch, Amy watched as Lindy led Ty toward the barn, holding his hand like it was the most normal thing in the world. The little girl spoke excitedly, pointing at the horses, showing him the stable she helped clean. This one's Copper, she said proudly. He lets me braid his tail, and this is where Mama teaches me how to ride. Ty listened closely, nodding with quiet wonder as if trying to